Okay, so, I mean, you guys have heard me say it before. These signing days are not what they used to be. We've already had one press conference on the last December one, so, certainly seems like almost everybody signs early nowadays, so not a lot of action today. Comparable. It'll be interesting to see the percentages when they come out. It feels like it's like 90% sign early now. So, signed a few kids today to add to the class. It's kind of strange even looking at numbers because, you have the first class, you have this class, and you have transfer portal guys that everybody follows closely and potentially transfer guys that haven't started school, so they may not be on our list even though we have their papers. So just kind of some strange rules around that. So, I think this one says 28 or 29 guys on it. So, I think when it's all said and done, including the next window that opens up, that'll well be over 30 players again this season. So that's kind of the world we live in now. Your rosters are changing. We have a whole new set of issues to deal with as head coaches and coaching staffs that, your roster turns over so much with all these guys leaving, coming in. It does make it challenging, but everybody has the same challenges as far as, culture and, creating that just because you have so much movement now. So we did add some guys today, that add to the previous 12 high school kids that were signed, so we are excited about that. And I guess this is our first time really of having the majority of the portal guys. I'm able to talk about that. So added a lot of spots there, had some leave like everywhere else around the country. I still think, much like the year before, we had much more significant players come in and go out through the portal. And I think that's really the challenge now is everybody looks, okay, what portal guys you get? It's really the balance of, okay, you're always going to lose your guys that are done with eligibility or going to the NFL draft. Now it's really kind of like the NFL, which we've said we've turned into a professional sport that, as you look at free agency, what did you lose in free agency? What did you get in? So, trying to win that battle because you are in a day now where nobody's going to keep all their players. It's just too easy for kids to leave, and when they don't like something. And so I think eventually we'll see a lot of things cleaned up around this. These are a lot of challenges that we talked about when NIL and transfer portal came out, and almost at the same time. And now we are here, whatever year it is, with both of them combined. So we are a professional sport without really, a system in place to handle these kids being treated as professionals as far as, them being paid, which is awesome. That I've always said. We just don't have a system in place around it with proper windows and contracts and them being employees because, and you got to figure out, do you sign high school kids or portal, and what's the balance there? Because it's great to sign high school kids, but what are the percentages that you're going to keep those kids now? Because as you see around the country, if they don't play good, they leave because they want to go play somewhere. And if they play good, they go because they get bought, to go make more money somewhere. So a ton of challenges there, and hopefully eventually someone fixes the system and uses some type of pro model that's all over the place in every other professional sport, but this one.
How do you decide which high school guy you take as opposed to, electing to pass on him and maybe evaluate him down the road? I mean, is it whether a guy can play right away or you think he could play within year two? Or how do you sort of make that evaluation?
Yeah, I think it's just got really complicated, and it might be easier sometimes if you just don't, look at analytics and, try to figure it all out and just say, okay, hey, that guy's a good player, we'll take him. But I think now, at least my opinion, you have to look at everything. Where's the guy from? You know, what's his personality? Is he the type that, you know, is more apt to transfer? You know, you got to weigh in all those things that come with it. And you're just in a strange time because eventually when that guy plays good, you have to recruit him to stay. I mean, when a window closes and we don't lose significant players, you know, in a window, it's like we're celebrating keeping our own players that weren't even in the portal. We're just keeping them from, you know, going other places because it is a constant battle. And I know other coaches have the same problem. We obviously talk. And, you know, you have a great player like Quinshawn. You know, he's one of the most recruited players in the country over the last few months. So that's very challenging and exciting, which sounds crazy when the window closes, that he's still here. Because you've seen other very significant players around the country, you know, move. And it's just unfortunate, you know, when you talk to these coaches and this, you know, the kids come into them and say, hey, I'm going into the portal. Okay, well, what are your plans? Well, I already know where I'm going and I know how much money I'm making. You know, the deals are already done. So that really hasn't been the case for us, but I know, and it's been written about, you know, some issues of very significant players around the country, you know, being bought away. And that just needs to somehow be fixed and create a real free agency.
You've had a couple of years now, everybody has of this kind of new world cycle, and you've touched on a lot in some of your answers already, but is there a way to now kind of map it out and have a strategy, or is it like it's going to be fluid every year? It won't be like it was the year before, even in recruiting with NIL and the transfer portal.
Yeah, I think until someone, you know, takes a hold and fixes it, you know, you're going to have these constant issues. And, you know, as you guys know, I don't give coach speak, so I kind of come up here, and I think a lot of people appreciate that because I get a lot of messages from people, fans, especially the media, that appreciate, hey, we know when your press conference comes, you're going to tell us what's really going on out there. And you, like I've said before, you have free agency without really proper windows, you know, and you have pay for play. I mean, you know, I don't think it's any secret that what the NIL was intended to be, and if you had awareness, you would know it was never going to happen that way. The way they set it up is it's pay for play. And how much money do kids get to go places? And if I transfer and go there, how much am I going to get versus how much if I stay? So it's very challenging. And, you know, it just feels like you're in a constant battle of you're in the middle of recruiting like you always were, and then you're recruiting your own kids. And you know, out there you would think you're recruiting your kids once they go in the portal to say, no, it's not. You're recruiting your kids not to go in the portal because they're being recruited, especially the significant young players. And the value of a young player that you can come take, like Quinshawn, is more valuable than the great high school player because now he can't leave again. So now they're, you know, actually recruiting even more or significant, you know, money being offered to someone like Quinshawn because now you have him for the next 2 years, no matter what, really. And they can't leave you. So it's very complicated.
Brought in a couple of transfer quarterbacks, including Spencer Sanders, a guy who's really experienced. Can you kind of take us through the decision to bring in those two guys? And is this an open quarterback battle again? Yeah,
I'm very excited about the quarterback room. I was very concerned about it from just pure numbers. You guys could figure that out. And my job is to put together the best roster every year. And, you know, we had a chance to bring these two guys in. I think Jackson did a lot of great things last year. I know Jackson, if you think about when he initially played versus the middle and end, dramatically improved for a young quarterback. We're very excited about him continuing that. And we were able to add two guys, one more of a veteran, kind of if you look at the NFL model, you know, a veteran free agent quarterback, and then a really young one, more of a draft pick. So the quarterback room is dramatically in a much better position than it was a year ago, and that's really our goal with our whole roster and every position every year is continue to improve it like we talked about what goes out versus what comes in, and trying to win that battle. So that'll be very exciting to see those guys develop, and to also, work with the young one too.
I know it's impossible to give a number on this, but when you look ahead to the next window in May, is there kind of an idea in your mind of how many more guys you'll be bringing in at that point out of the portal?
I don't know. Again, there is no way to map out a plan anymore exactly of what you're going to do because there's too many variables. You've got multiple windows of free agency. Now the SEC to SEC window's closed, but everything else isn't. So you can say, well, here's what we have, so here's what we need. But then you're going to lose some of your own again, too. So you don't know that. And like I said, you're going to have surprises in this. It's not just going to be what it used to be. Okay, here's your disgruntled players that they're not playing very much. They were a highly recruited player. So we all know, okay, they're going to go transfer. And I said this at the beginning of it. This is going to go the other way. You're going to have really good players play well and actually be happy where they're at, but they're going to get offered to go make more money. Or they're going to, what they have now is a chance to opt into free agency, which why would anybody not do that? See what's out there, to make more money. So that's what's happened, and a lot of people get to the parents, not just the kids. So you're trying to protect your own kids and talk to them why they should stay, and then all of a sudden, these other schools get a parent. So this is a constant battle, and I don't know how to do the numbers part of it and say, okay, after spring, this is what we need, because I think the analytics are going to show you're going to lose more.
What is, I guess, given everything you just talked about, I mean, how hard is it to get to 85 when you have that kind of a hard cap? Is that something that needs to be looked at, in your opinion, given the uncertainty that you just described?
Yeah, I think before, you always had the challenge of figuring out your numbers because you didn't know early on going into who's going to go to the NFL draft. Well, now you have who's going to go to the draft that you may lose, which was always a good problem to have because it meant they played really well. Now you have this whole other thing, which, again, to say the same thing, your players that aren't playing as much as they want to leave, and then your good players may want to leave because especially a parent gets involved. So, and there's been documented cases of that nationally where one of the best player on a team, on a very elite team, all of a sudden goes into the portal out of nowhere, and he already is going to another very prominent program. So, like I said, you don't have, from the beginning, there is no professional sport that has a setup like this because it wouldn't work. It's why they have setups and they have windows and they have contracts so players can choose and sign, okay, I'm going to sign a 1-year, 2-year, 3-year, 4-year contract. And that's not what any of these are now.
You may have just answered what I was going to ask. Obviously, in professional sports, they're employees. They have
Yeah.
legally binding contracts. Is that the only solution to take care of the things that you're talking about?
I don't get into a lot of that because I can't control that, and no one's going to listen, to coaches on that stuff. So I don't know that. That has always seemed to me, and I don't study it enough to know the other issues that come with that, of that they should be employees because they need contracts, because that's what they're doing. They have contracts, but we don't really want to say they do, but they do. So they need them, and they need to have years on them, and so that they decide, hey, this is what I'm doing. But right now, it's crazy. You have kids go to a place and say, hey, coach, I was really thinking about switching to you, but, I'm just going to stay with this, sign, try it out for a year, and then if I don't really like it, I'll come to you guys a year from now. That's not good. That's not good for college sports. That's not good for a kid because, again, now kids go into this, and it's as soon as something doesn't go my way, I leave, and that's not how you want kids going into things. And that is an issue, and that's going to be a major issue. And I think you saw that at a national program this year where it started happening in the season when things weren't going well. And kids going, okay, I'm going to usually say, take my ball and go home. It's really, I'm going to take my money and I'm going to go to another place and get more. And I'm not mad at the kids. they're maximizing this flawed system. So I commend them.
I don't think we've gotten the chance to talk to you about Coach Golding yet. How did that decision kind of take shape, and why is he a good fit?
That was really awesome. There's no, I mean, we're talking about signing day, you know, and you guys talk about stars. That's as 5-star as you can get. And this has nothing to do with that you're beating Alabama and all of that. This is a great coach that everyone that's worked with him has always said from the beginning, even when he was at smaller places before that, that he was brilliant, upcoming, and Coach Saban even talked about it as one of the best interviews he's ever seen in the first interview when he interviewed him. So just a very unusual situation that someone at the top of their game, you know, you get to come here. So there were, you know, some family things that helped us there with, you know, his wife's family from here. And so that was great. Kind of like in recruiting, there's advantages. So we're really excited for them to come, he and his family to be here, and you know, to really help us, not just on defense schematically, obviously, like he will, but he's been a phenomenal recruiter too, and one that we've had to go against.
You kind of got into it earlier, but more specifically, can you talk about the traits you look for in young offensive linemen, like the 5 in this signing class?
I mean, it's all different, you know, center, guards, tackles, and what we're looking for. We really like athletic guys, you know, that can play multiple positions, which there's some of that in this class, you know, that you can always move around. And again, you know, you're always going to be in this where people are leaving and coming and going. So the more a player could play multiple positions, even more valuable up there, because you'll be thin at times.
Anything else for Coach?
All right, guys. Have a good week. Thanks.